Hello, everyone. John Melby with Become Demand Driven. Hope everyone's having a great day. Welcome to another episode of the Big Idea Lounge or the Supply Chain Thought Leader's Guide to the Universe. There's a quick slide about me if you want to learn more about me. But let's get started with today's episode, A Tale of Two Perspectives. In supply chain, we have chaos. We have firefighting all the time. Why do we have that? The tools that we're using are supposed to keep us from having to do that. And yet here we are using the tools for years and years and years, and still firefighting, chaos, expediting. And the underlying piece to all of this is that there's a conflict in the way we think in our traditional planning tools. We are trying to resolve the following conflict. We have to make precise plans. We have to find a target and then make a precise plan to hit that target. First, for inventory scheduling, for arrival of raw materials, and for resource scheduling. We have to make a precise plan. We are fully aware at the same time that that target that we have deemed precise is going to be constantly moving, which is kind of the opposite of precise. So here's the dilemma we find ourselves in. With the current tools that we have, with the thought processes of traditional planning, we have the thing that is keeping us from succeeding, this dependence on precision, that at the same time is the only thing that we have based on our traditional planning tools. It's the only choice we have. So you can't throw out the thing that's the only choice you have, even though that's the thing that seems to be stopping you from succeeding. This is the dilemma that we're in. So in our approach here, in our tale of two perspectives, one perspective is we can look at demand first. And in this situation, we're picking the target, right? If we don't have a target at all, if we don't have some kind of a signal saying we have this demand, then there's absolutely nothing happening in our traditional planning world. So we create forecasts or demand, but some kind of a target that we look at. And we call this a deterministic approach, where we believe that if we have this demand out here, then our plans can just line up and work perfectly. We know the target's not going to stay where it was, which means we're forced into some sort of constant course correction and realignment activities. So a lot of changes, surprises, expedites, firefighting, in a word, chaos. Now, the conversations in this kind of a scenario are around improving forecast accuracy and achieving the supplier lead time that we've been promised. Both the forecast and or the orders, the demand signal, and the supplier lead time has to be perfectly achieved. So it's kind of funny that we've designed a supply chain approach that expects absolute precision planning and creating the need for an impossible agility expectation. And if we're not agile, then that plan, which is based fully on stability, falls apart quickly. On the other side of the spectrum, we have a capability first perspective. And this requires us not, we still require that demand prediction. We still require some sort of forecast, but it doesn't have to be perfect or precise. We remove the direct connection to the target and replace it with ballpark expectations. That means, yes, we expect still to be doing realignment activities, but your processes are designed with the capability of realignment, not chaotic. So it's smoother reactions, earlier visibility to required adaptations, less emergency planning, less chaos. And the conversations are around the agility of our supply chains and things like a reduction in lead time or improved or less variability. Those are the improvement activities. Those are the levers to make things better. And so we've designed this supply chain approach that is absolutely based on agility and the mechanism for increasing our ability to meet demand, even if it changes. And the funny part here is that of a supply chain isn't in the precision and the hitting of that precision, but it's in our ability to adapt to change. The perfect supply chain is one that can adapt to changes that are reasonable, uh, and within a range of uh, lack of precision. So we don't strive for stability because stability isn't a requirement any longer. But if we did improve stability, it leads to an improved supply chain. We just never hit 100%. The idea that our supply chains will never, ever, ever change even a little bit. So, to give an example, and the key to this whole thing is having these work together, having both of these options available. So, I think about, with analogy, I think about Thanksgiving dinner. Right? And Thanksgiving dinner, we can think about the different things that we might have. So, very few of us probably have a frozen turkey available at all times in our freezer or even at the grocery store. Maybe they're there, but we don't keep those in our house, expecting at any moment somebody might request a fully baked or cooked turkey. So, that one we're going to use our precision to handle. We're going to purchase the turkey we need for the Thanksgiving dinner that we are having. Other things like potatoes, we might have at all times. And we're just going to grab from our stack of potatoes or our inventory of potatoes and make whatever we want to make for that meal and any other meal. Our house has things designed, like the seating, how big our house is, how big our tables are, how the you could even go down the path of the utensils and the plates and all the other things that we have, right? Those are all kind of based on a capability of expectations that we might have 10 people, we might have 12 people, but if we have 35 people, it's not really going to work in our house. We'll have to then switch to precision, find a location that will handle that. Our kitchen. We don't redesign our kitchen every time we have people over. We have a we happen to have two ovens. We have a stovetop. We have a refrigerator. There's certain things that you have, and if you need more than what you have, you got to find some other way to deal with it. And then things like the cranberry for the Thanksgiving dinner. We don't have that in our house at all times. We get the cranberry we need for that particular meal. So you see, there's in our lives, everywhere in our lives, we have things where we're designed by capability and things we're managing with precision, and they can work together nicely in these examples. So we have positioning is what defines our capability. Where is our inventory in our manufacturing scenario? Is it in raw materials? Is it in finished goods? Is it somewhere in between? Is it held at a supplier? Wherever we have positioned that inventory, that defines what we're capable of doing. So that where is the first part and how much is the second. If we have a desired capability of, let's say, making 100 units a day, then we have to have inventory that would allow us to make 100 units a day. If that desired capability is going to go up to 150, then we have to change how much inventory we're holding. If the positioning of our inventory allows us to make those 100 units a day in 3 days, but all of a sudden the requirement is we need them the next day, we have to change that positioning. Right? So positioning becomes both the how much can I make and how fast can I make it. Kind of the key to success in almost everything. So the capability changes the discussion, not how can I make 20% more tomorrow and then 30% more the next day. How can I change my capability from 100 to maybe 150, depending on what that capability range needs to be? And if precision is possible, we can still work in the precise world. And for things where precision is unlikely, we have to think in the capability dimension. And we need a system that will handle both. That is where demand driven MRP comes in. We have demand driven for the capability side and MRP for the precision side. And that allows us to think with both angles, both perspectives. And that, my friends, is the tale of two perspectives. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a great day.